Thank you, Nerina, for coming to our conference this year. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. You always bring a lot of value when it comes to ETFs and risk premia. So maybe we can start there. What's the next step for risk premia in South Africa?
I think the conference today for me was a very good example of maybe looking at what these risk premia are and what role they could play. And I think we might find that there's quite a difference between what we as practitioners do in terms of index design or products that bring index-based strategies to the market and maybe what the market requires. I thought the conversation around, should we specifically, for example, choose an underlying index that gives you a good dividend yield if you're looking for a strategy for a client that's looking for a high yield payoff, that should be very important, and I don't see us doing that. So for me, I think the next step really should be bringing the client's requirements closer to the product design and how we offer it to clients.
You spend a lot of time trying to understand the South African retail investors. So what do you think they want on risk premia?
Certainly dividends is incredibly important, I think, and that's not just a South African theme or a trend. I think where yield is required, where more regular income is required, those strategies are always good. But I think the dividend strategies also are very good in terms of a better balance within your total return between what comes from capital gain versus what comes from your dividends. So dividend strategies most definitely, and then I think your downside protection. Especially in South Africa, many of our retail clients are still not comfortable with the idea of taking on risk within equity markets. The fact that they need to take on the risk sits very uncomfortably with their ability to take on the risk, and I think if we can sort of package for them the upside benefit of the equity market but with the downside protection, but like the bubble wrap or or having those airbags in the vehicle, I think that would work very well for the retail investor.
Okay, thank you. So, Nerina, ESG has been a big topic around the world. So what's your view here in South Africa?
I think we're definitely seeing an increasing demand for ESG products in South Africa as well. I think recent experience in South Africa, there's been a lot of focus specifically on the G, the corporate governance side of things, and of course environmental issues have always been important. But in a country like South Africa where the social imperatives are so incredible, that really for me is the area where South Africa maybe can lead the way globally in terms of how do we really apply capital and to make the future of the economy and of the society more appropriate. So for me, that's an area where I think we are already seeing some things in terms of impact investing, but we need to see a lot more.
Okay, thank you, Nerina. One last question. This is your third conference with us with SRP. So, what are you taking with you today?
So for me it was great to get insights maybe on some of the topics that you offered around the global, the offshore investing and what are the implications for clients around tax issues, the ease of trading and so on. I also thought that the panel on technology for me was very interesting, but as a DFM, a discretionary fund manager myself, I really found that panel to be very, very interesting in terms of how do we evaluate these products, how do we align them with client requirements, and how do we actually bring them into client portfolios, and very importantly report on that, both from a client valuation performance perspective, but also from a regulatory perspective. How do we do our regulatory reporting to the Reserve Bank and to FSCA?
Okay, well, thank you very much, Nerina, to join us.